And sometimes I ran out of housekeeping money. I didn't buy anything for myself. I ran out of housekeeping money. And he said, well, I gave you $80. I said, but I used to keep the list of things that I bought. And he said, well, things are dear, aren't they? You know? And I said, well, he said, well, you needn't have bought that, or you needn't have bought that. And I said, but we needed that. Nothing for myself, it was the housekeeping. And then I got sick of that, just the housekeeping money. I couldn't get my hair cut, or I couldn't do anything like that. So I said, well, I'm not very happy. And he said, what about, and he said, come here, sit on my lap and tell me what you need. And I said, well, I need a little bit of money for myself, because I'd worked and I had money. And he said, well, you tell me what you want. And I said, well, I'd like to buy a lipstick if I could, or get my hair cut or something like that. So he said, and I said, but I don't like to ask you for money. And he said, well, there was a vase on that china cabinet. He said, I'll leave some money under there just for you. So he did, but that was absorbed into the housekeeping, because he remembered when things, and his wife, ex-wife, used to make all their clothes, suits and everything. Well, I never sewed. So if you and Wayne wanted things, I had to buy them, because I couldn't sew. So he forgot to leave the money under there sometimes, so I had to ask, and I didn't like to ask Dad for money, but I had to ask, because where else am I going to get it from? So when he died, I had no money. I had no bank account, no money of my own. So I had to sell things that were here in the house, wood and machinery and that sort. And I was robbed of a lot of things, but I had to sell them until money came through for me to live. And then when the money came through for me to live, I thought, well, I only just spent it on you and Wayne and bills and housekeepings. And so I've never really had any money for myself to spend. And now I don't like putting $40 in the poker machine.
But you can, and you do sometimes.
I can, but I don't want to. I didn't sleep last Friday night.
You wanted to put in the $40, and so you did. Then you felt guilty.
Yes, I did. And so I didn't. And I said to Gwen when I rang, she said, you sound tired. And I said, well, I'm tired, Gwen, because I went to the poker machines last night, the Gables, with David and Muriel, and I put $40 in the machine. And I said, no, I didn't sleep at all last night. I'm laying there. And she said, Nana was the same when we took it to the club. So I just can't do it anymore, because I just can't do it, because I remember the times when I didn't have 5 cents. So I can't do it. But I do buy myself a bottle of scotch, which lasts me 2 weeks.
That's good.
$31 for 2 weeks, what's that? $15 something a week.
15.
So I got to do something. I don't buy myself clothes. Still live in the old things.
Did you ask Gwen why your dad didn't go to the Second World War?
Oh yes, he had, I've forgotten. Flat feet? No, don't think so. Can't remember what it was.
Oh, okay.
Can't remember what it was. But he wasn't very good to us, Gwen and Nana and I. Wasn't very good to us. But he still used to, when he moved in with his lady friend, he still sent Rob 10 shillings and a Christmas card every year. And one year, the Christmas card and 10 shillings didn't come. So I was going out with a policeman at the time, and I asked him could he check on why and then he told me that he died in July, the year before. And his lady friend did all the funeral arrangements and had him cremated, but they they should have told my mother because she was his next of kin. She was still his wife. Anyway, Gwen and I went to find out where he was cremated and that. And we found out at Northern Suburbs Crematorium, and his ashes were scattered. He was only 56. His ashes were scattered, and we asked where, and they didn't have it in the book, where his ashes were scattered. But Gwen and Bill go to Nana's grave, and my Uncle Paul and my Auntie Hazel, and my grandmother and grandfather, and my father's mother, but we'd have nowhere to go to his grave. Yeah. So,
What would you go to his grave for?
well, why would we go to his mother's grave? Because Nana and my father lived with his mother when Gwen was a baby, because they had nowhere else to live. Because Mum's mother and father, Sid Injured, those two, chucked her out of the house when she married him, my father. And so she lived with his mother in a house in Norton Street, which is gone now. But my father's mother treated Nana terribly. She wouldn't let her wash Gwen's nappies in hot water. So Nana had to wash the nappies in cold water, and she'd got abscesses all at the top of her breast, all abscesses. And she had a terrible time. She had to sit under the clothesline because people would come and steal the clothes. She had to sit under there till they were dry. But Gwen and Bill go to his mother's grave, put a flower on there, because she said, oh well, part of the family.
So your grandparents threw Nana out of the house,
Yes.
marrying
Yeah.
your dad.
Yes.
Why?
Gwen and I aren't sure, but we think it was because they were Syrian. They were from Syria, and he was an Australian, and I think they wanted my mother to marry somebody that they chose, and I think the person they chose was forgotten his name now, but he went away somewhere, and Nana met my father at a dance hall, and they got married. And I think that Nana's parents threw her out because she didn't wait for that fellow, Patrick, or forgotten his name now, and she married my dad.
Do you know how long after they met did they get married?
Not long.
Oh.
Might have been a shotgun. Not sure.
So they might have met in 32 or the end of 31.
Might have been a shotgun. Gwen and I think it might have been a shotgun. And that's why I think they threw her out. Because Nana couldn't go anywhere at all without her brothers taking her. Because they were very strict, those older Syrian families. And I think that Nana, what do you call it? Rebelled. Yep, against that. And because she did, I think they threw her out. I won't say it was a shotgun, but I think that they threw her out because she didn't conform to their standards of what they wanted their daughter to do. Now that little baby there is Nana, and that was 1905. And that one there was 1925. And that was before she got married. So she was only 20 there in that one. So I just think that because she disobeyed them, and the only daughter, they chucked her out.
Disowned her.
Yeah, disowned her. Until they disowned her until she got older, and the parents needed somebody to look after them, and they asked her to come back with my to live in the family home to look after them because the three sons were there, and Mum looked after Uncle Albert, Uncle Paul, Uncle Mick, Nana and Grandad until each one of the three sons left, and then Nana was left with her mother and father, and she looked after both of them until they died. And my Nana was only 73 when she died.
Didn't she fall under a train?
Oh no, when she was expecting Gwen, she fell under a tram and she lost her leg.
Oh, right.
Yeah, when she was expecting Gwen.
When Nana was expecting Gwen,
yes.
her mother fell under a train.
No, when Nana was expecting Gwen, Nana fell under a train.
Yeah.
And lost her leg.
My Nana?
Yes, my mother.
How did she lose her leg? She didn't lose her leg.
Yeah, she fell under a tram.
My Nana had both her
oh,
legs.
No, wait a minute. No. My grandmother. Sorry,
yes.
my grandmother. When Nana, my mother was expecting Gwen, her mother
fell under the tram and lost her leg.
And I think that was when Nana went back to look after her.
Right.
That's right. Happy memories. We had a struggle financially, but we were happy with each other, the three of us, until Rob came along, and then we were happy with him, being in the family and that. Oh, yeah, we had a struggle money-wise, but the rest of the time we were happy.
So how are you coping?
All right. First sorry for Mum. First sorry for Mum. Oh,
how old's her sister?
Younger, 5 years, 5 years younger than Mum. She's 72. 67. Same age as me. Why am I coughing?
Maybe
why
you
am I
should.
coughing?
You just had a drink?
No.
Oh, water. Did you just have a drink of water?
Yeah, I did. Okay. Anyway, I feel sorry for Mon, but she's going over to England to help with her brother, whose wife is ill.
Maybe you should have a cup of coffee or something. The hot air, because it sounds like you're having trouble breathing.
No, that's all right. That's all right. I'm fine. So, what's happening with you, Elchie?
Nothing much. I went to went to Napier. It was very nice, lovely trip, and had a lot of fun. And that's about it, really. How's your cold been?
Not good. Deb's coming back, but it's all right so far. Well, Elvis has trouble getting in his door, and not many nights he comes in, and then I get up early, 6:15, and he's waiting at the back door. So I thought that I'll get him a new door, maybe a little doggy door.
A bigger door for him.
A bigger door for him.
So that bigger animals can come in.
No, little. He's only got that little one. If I get a little bigger one for him to come in, because he's mum's boy. It's very small, isn't it?
Well, it'd be normal for him if he lost weight.
Well, he's not going to lose weight, like I'm not going to lose weight.
Well, no, okay
and
then.
$65. The $65 for a new door, and they will put it in.
Okay then.
It's not dear, is it?
No, not $65, not for Elvis, no.
No, not for Mummy's boy.
That's right. No, it's...
Anyway, that's about it.
How's Gwen?
She's all right. She goes on the 22nd of this month, Monday week, for her mapping. And the mapping is that they make the area where she's got to have her radiotherapy.
Okay. And how's she feeling?
She hadn't got the letter I sent last Sunday. She hadn't got that one. She's feeling all right, but a little bit concerned because they told her that the radiotherapy could go into her lungs to scar her lungs. And she said, did they tell you that? And I said, no, but after I had radiotherapy, they gave me a chest x-ray, lung x-ray, and it was clear. And they'll probably do that for you too. They'll probably do that for you too. Because she's concerned. But it was so early like mine was. But Mon's sister, a bit later, she's got to have chemotherapy. Now, she said, do you know anyone who's had chemotherapy for breast cancer who has survived? And I didn't say anything. She said, do you? And I said, well, you've asked me, Mon. No, I don't know anyone who's had chemotherapy after breast cancer who has survived. So she's worried about her sister. She said, I'll give you a ring. She's going to go over to England, over to Kent. It's a worry, isn't it? But anyway, her daughter, Mon's daughter, met a fellow that she likes, and he lives in Tasmania. Now, Mon's daughter, what's her name?
Denise.
Denise, that's right. So she's thinking of moving over to Tasmania to live. So Mon said, well, if Denise goes over to Tasmania, I'll go over there after she's gone to England.
Well, she might change her mind.
Yeah, she might. She might.
Wayne was excited about the...
Oh yes, oh yes. I read it to her last Saturday, what you wrote.
The genealogy thing.
Yeah. And she said, she sent you a graph that John, my cousin John, wrote. Have you got that?
That was for the Maloofs.
Yes.
Yes, I've got that.
You've got that.
Mm.
You've got that. That was Maloofs. But she said that Jiddi, my grandfather, she sent you a graph that John, my cousin John, wrote. Have you got that?
That was for the Maloofs.
Yes.
Yes, I've got that.
You've got that.
Mm.
You've got that. That was Maloofs. But she said that Jiddi, my grandfather, had 5 brothers and sisters, and they went to all different parts. One went to Argentina, and one went to wherever. But you can't get all that, can you?
Well, it's difficult because there are a lot of Maloofs all over the place, you see, and I mean, I've found some Maloofs in America, but I don't know whether they're related.
Yes, because some of my grandfather's brothers and sisters went to America.
But I don't know whether the Maloofs I found are related to...
Well, can you get it down? Glenn will know.
Well, yeah, I can.
You
I'll bring that over.
get that down.
But I don't think that the Tanner information, I don't think that was right. But from Tasmania, I don't think that was right.
Oh yes, that was good. That fellow from Tasmania rang. He wrote to Gwen. Or sent a letter to her. He's part of the Tanners. He's part of the Tanners. But we can't do much about the Bowketts, can we?
Not really. Not really, because it's all in England, you see.
Well, as I said, Dad's father was adopted, and he wasn't a true Bowkett.
Well, we don't have any documents about that, you see.
Yeah.
No proof nowhere.
Well, you're the only one of all the grandchildren who are interested in this.
Yeah,
Christy Lee doesn't
I'm
care.
also the smartest grandchild, so it's not really any...
Christy Lee doesn't care, and Adam doesn't care, and Wayne doesn't care. You're the only one. So Gwen's looking through all that she's got for the genealogy.
Excellent, excellent.
And I said to her, well, she said, what's going to happen to all this when I die? And I said, well, put it on there that this is for Stephen Bowkett. And she said, well, what would the other ones think? I said, they couldn't care less. Just put that is for Stephen Bowkett. Because you're the only one who's doing anything with the genealogy, with the family. You know?
Sure. And your father was Catholic?
Oh, well, Mum, my mother was Catholic, and
Oh.
my father was Catholic. But maybe it was only because their parents were Catholics.
So you didn't really have a big Catholic upbringing then?
No, well, we couldn't afford to go to a Catholic school. It was too expensive, Gwen and I. But we had 1 hour, at the school we went to, we had 1 hour of religious services. And that was just 1 hour to show that
That was all the Catholic upbringing you had?
that's all the Catholic upbringing. But we went to church, Mum and Gwen and I, we went to Catholic church for years, every Sunday. But then Gwen and I went to, don't know whether I told you this, Gwen and I went to, was something on Good Friday, it was something on Good Friday. And then we were hungry, so we bought a pie. And then we realised after we've eaten the pie, it's Friday. We were not supposed to eat meat on a Friday. But then we realised we had eaten a pie, meat, on a Friday. And not only a Friday, it was Good Friday. Good Friday. Can't eat meat on Friday. Good Friday was bad. But then we went to, we thought, well, right, it's Easter show. It was the Easter show. And then we said, well, we've got to go to church and confess we've eaten meat on Friday and Good Friday. But since then...
How old were you?
12. But then the church now has said you can eat meat on a Friday. So a lot of the teachings, Stephen, of the Catholic Church that we were brought up with was false. You know? And I've lost a lot of faith in religion over the years. You know? But then when you were christened, over in the, when Dad and I got married in the Presbyterian church, and then you were 5.5 months old when we went over there for the first time, and we got you baptised in the church that Dad and I got married in. But then when Wayne was born, over here, we went to the Presbyterian church up there in Green Lane, and they said, corner of Green Lane Road and Quetta, then they said, we cannot baptise your child unless you belong to the church. So Wayne's not baptised.
I thought Dad was Presbyterian.
No, he wasn't.
Oh.
The only church that would marry Dad and I was the Presbyterian church.
Oh.
I don't know what religion Dad was, but I was Catholic. And when I wanted to get married, I went to the priest that I knew at the Catholic Church, and I said to him, I want to get married, but I said my husband's divorced, but he was the innocent party of the divorce, and he said, well, bring me all the information, and he said, I'll send it off to my head, then they'll send it off to the bishop, then they'll send it off to then they'll send it off to the Pope. When did you want to get married? I said, 3 days' time. Oh, no way. No way. No way. So I went to the Anglican church. They wouldn't marry us. And
For the same reason?
yeah, and I went to the Church of England church. They wouldn't marry us. Things have changed now. They do. They do. But I went to the registry office, and I didn't like to get married in a registry office. It was my first marriage, and I didn't want to get married in a registry office. I mean, there was a desk and chairs and a flag, and so finally I went to round the corner at the Presbyterian church.
It's in Stevens, isn't it?
No,
Oh.
Forgot what it was.
Oh well.
Somebody said, go round there and see if the minister will marry you. Well, I had all the papers and everything, Presbyterian church. So he said, well, you've got all the papers, I'll marry you. So Dad came over on the Thursday and we got married on the Monday. Hunter Bailey, the Hunter Bailey Presbyterian Church in Johnson Street in Annandale. And he married us, and I was very happy. I was very happy.
Great.
Now, the Catholic Church will marry you if you're the innocent party of the divorce, but not back then.
Probably marry you if you're the guilty party of the divorce.
Don't know. So I've lost a lot of faith in religion, Stephen. I've lost a lot of faith. The only one I haven't lost is the Jehovah's Witnesses, because they follow the true church, the true Bible. They follow it. They do follow it. So anyway, that was that. What do you want to hear about now?
These childhood games you played after school.
Oh yes, yes. The childhood games that I played after school. We did our homework first. Then we went out into the street and we played hide and seek.
Oh yeah, just my tummy's a bit.
We played hide and seek. Then we played countries. You threw the ball up and whoever's country you called, they came and threw the ball up. We played mostly ball and hide and seek or other. And we played games with a tennis ball up there and down the leg and up there and down the leg. And that's all we had. That's all we had, the outside games. You know? Because nobody had any money and nobody had any cars. That's why you could play in the street and no cars came. What other games did we play? I can't remember what games we played. Mostly those. But when we were younger, Margaret Lawson's mother lived a few doors down the street. Then we decided to play nurses and doctors. Boys and girls, we were only, I don't know, 6 or 7. So the nurses were going to inject us in our bottom with these needles. Mothers and fathers. We were playing just nurses and doctors we were playing. So we took off our pants, we lay on this table, and then the nurses started, and then Margaret Lawson's mother came into the garage. What are you doing?
This is when you were about 19, 20?
No, 6 or 7. Get your pants on. Whose pants are these? Everybody go home. We didn't know. It was innocent. We didn't know.
What happened to Margaret Lawson?
Right. Margaret Lawson, her father was in the Royal Australian Air Force. And he was stationed, I don't know where. But then one night, Margaret came up to our place, Gwen and up in Limerick Street, and she was crying. She said, my father's died. Her mother told her father had died. Don't know how he had died. But anyway, then later on in years, Margaret Lawson was paraplegic. She was in a wheelchair. But it was Margaret Lawson's uncle. It was Margaret Lawson's uncle that I met when Nana went into the home. I've forgotten his name just at the moment. Harold Lawson. Now Harold Bazette, because Margaret Lawson's auntie was Bazette. Anyway, his wife was in the home where Nana was. His wife was in the home where Nana was. So when Nana went into the home, Gwen had a nervous breakdown. And Rob and I were there when Nana came out of the ambulance to go into the home. And Harold was there. And his wife was in that home. And he said, well, if you want to know anything about the home, I will tell you. Huh? Anyway, after a while, Harold said to me, would you like to go for a drive after you leave the home? I said, yes. Come on, we'll go for a drive. And then he said to me, well, would you like to come to bed with me? He said, would you like to come to bed with me? And I said, why would I want to come to bed? Because his wife was in the home. And I said, no thank you. He said, I thought you'd like to help me out. I said, no, I don't want to help you out.
My goodness.
Yeah. Now another fellow, what was his name? Hang on, wait a minute. I've forgotten his name now at the moment, but he always said he turns up like a bad penny at our home in Sydney. I don't know, what was his name? Anyway, he said to me, I've booked a room in a hotel because I've got an appointment. I've got an appointment at the hospital. So he said, would you like to come to Balmain Club with me? I said, yes, I would. That'd be nice. And then he said, well, can we go back to the motel? And he said, I thought you'd like to stay the night with me. I said, no, thank you. Now,
smooth.
Yes, very nice, very nice. But this was, well after Dad died, and I was going over to Sydney to be with Nana in the home. Bob Giffen.
Bob?
Yes, Bob Giffen. Bob Giffen. Now I'd known Bob Giffen for many, many years. I knew Bob Giffen for many years. And they still got it on the china cabinet, a penny. And it's got Bob Giffen. I'll always turn up like a bad penny. And he turned up like a bad penny. And he had a bad back and he had a corset on. And that particular night he took me to the Balmain Club. He took his corset off. He thought he would take me back to the motel, but he didn't.
No.
Yeah. You see?
Terrible.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So you've just got to...
No, I bet that Harold guy, he probably tried that with a lot of women.
He tried it on Kim.
Oh my God.
Kim Tumeth.
God, I bet it succeeded too.
Hang on. There's another woman went to see her sister at the home where Nana was, and he tried it on her, he tried it on another woman, and then one day when I was over in Sydney, Kim Tumeth came to see, and Harold was working at the same place that Kim was, and Gwen said, did he try it on you? She said, he tries it on everybody.
My God.
And I mean, he must have been 70 odd. Yeah?
Jeez. For goodness sake, give him some bromide or something.
Yeah, well this is what I was saying. But his wife, I used to take her home weekends from the home, hoping to you know what. But she said, she had the Alzheimer's, she said, what are you doing? Because she didn't know. So he tried it on three of the women, three of the ones who went to see their sisters or their mothers or somebody at the home. Now isn't that terrible? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. My God.
Mm.
My...
Anyway, you know how I met Dad, didn't you?
Yes, yes, through half hour and so on.
Yes. Well, Gwen and I looked at a lot of houses to buy, and the only one we saw, well, she wasn't with me, I was with a stupid nut, Max, and I thought, well, this could be a good one. Very small, more than half as small as the house we left in Emmerich Street. And I didn't have any money with me, but Max had $50. He left the $50, and then we went back and got Gwen and Mum, and they liked it. And then so we bought the place in Annandale in Young Street, and then Mr. and Mrs. Hancock lived next door.
$50 or £50?
Can't remember. It might have been £50. Yes, it must have been £50 because it was 1963 and 1966, I think, was £50. Anyway, Mr. and Mrs. Hancock lived next door, but they didn't own the place. Tom Dooley. He owned the place, but he had no one to look after him. So half hour and her husband looked after Tom, and he left the house to them. And that's how we met them. But her and her husband was alive at the time, but he died a little bit later. And so we bought the place, and she said to me, my nephew lives in New Zealand, and he's been trying to come over here for a holiday for quite a while, but because his business has stopped him coming over, but he's coming over at Easter time. And that's how I met Dad.
Yeah.
He came over at Easter time, and half hour and Mum and I used to go to Housey on a Thursday night. And I was up painting the top of the house, and he saw me. He saw me up there painting the top of the house, and he said to half hour, who's that? And she said, oh, that's Vicky's daughter. That's Vicky's daughter. She's in a pretty bad arrangement with her man friend. He wouldn't leave me alone. I tried to break it off so many times. Anyway, I knocked on the door, a little window. I knocked on the window to say, we're going to Housey tonight. And Dad came to the door, the window. And I said, oh. I'm just knocking on the door to say if half hour would like to come. And he said, oh yes, she would. And I came back in and I said to Mum, she said, you can't leave him there on his own. So I knocked on the window and asked if he'd like to come. So that was that.
Wow. So he played housing.
Yeah, but he's probably never played house in his life.
Well.
Yeah. Anyway, then he asked me for lunch the next day in the city, and I went. It was the revolving restaurant, and I didn't know him very well then at the time, but I got time off. I said to Joe, I've been invited up to the revolving restaurant. Go, he said. So that was that, and from there on,
The
well,
rest is
you've heard
history.
all that.
I think so, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Now, yeah, so very interesting, very interesting.
So, I don't know, Stephen, all those years, I mean, I was nearly 34 when I got married, but I never met anyone I wanted to marry.
Well, there you go.
And I love my job at the AMP, I love my job, and I love my home life, but this Max kept pestering me. He wouldn't leave me alone. And so when I met Dad in that Easter holidays, I went to my doctor and I said to him, I've got to get out of Sydney. I said, could you get me, could you write out a thing to say that I need a break, a holiday? So he did. And so I said to Max, well, the doctor said I've got to get a holiday and I'm going out to New Zealand. He said, why New Zealand? And I said, well, I've got a friend there, Kat Chartres, and she said I can stay with her. So I came over here, got away from him.
How did you meet Muriel Sexton?
Oh, she worked at the AMP. She went to work at the AMP. And before I met Dad, she said she met Peter and Alan over there in Sydney, and then she said, well, I'm going back to New Zealand, but of course she was pregnant at the time. She's never told me who the father of Leanne was. I've never asked her and she's never told me. So she came back here. She had the baby over in Sydney and then she came back here. And when she came back here, I'd only been here a few weeks after I got married, and she came to the front door and there she was with Leanne. That's how I met Miriam. Now that was 19, I've known Miriam all those years.
19 something.
Oh, I got married in 68, I met her before 68, maybe 66. Maybe 66 I met her.
When did you meet Wendy Tumith?
She worked at the AMP.
Yeah.
Her and I worked at the AMP together.
When did she start?
Well, I left in 68. Maybe she started in early 61, 62.
When did you start at the AMP?
January 1950.
1950.
January 1950. And I missed out August 1949 was their 100th anniversary. Yeah, and they had a big do. I missed out on that. I started January 1950. I left school December 49. And I started work at the AMP January 1950. You weren't even thinking of.
It was another 20 years.
Yeah, a long time ago. So I worked there from 1950.
That was before the Sydney Opera House was...
I worked in Pitt Street. The first AMP was in Pitt Street. And then the big AMP, you saw the book. Well, that was finished. When that was finished, we moved down there. But where the Opera House is now was a tram depot. And I saw them digging out the tram depot to build the Opera House. And I saw them, lunchtimes, they had the boarding up with the holes, and I used to go and watch what they were doing with the Opera House. And I saw them building the Opera House. From my window where I worked at the AMP, I saw them building the Opera House. And I left before the Opera House was opened. I left, not long, 68 I left, maybe 69 or 70 the Opera House was opened. But I used to go down and see them building it.
Well, it took a long time for them to build it, didn't it?
Yes, many years. And Jorn Utzon, the Swedish fellow who designed it, they scrapped him For some reason or other, I don't know why. I don't know why they scrapped him, but they did, and because it was going to cost about 7 million. And they had an Opera House lottery, and we bought tickets in the Opera House lottery. I don't know, $5 or something. But then it cost about 14 million. Cost about, maybe, I'm not sure, about 14 million when it was finished. But I was there.
Mm.
I was there in Sydney.
Wow. Well, the election's coming up, isn't it?
What I thought I'd do, I think I'll vote for Helen Clark. Did you vote for MMP? I didn't. No, I didn't vote for MMP. But somebody wrote in the paper, why in New Zealand, of 4 million people, do you need 120 MPs?
You don't, you see.
No.
Yeah, we should have less.
Yes?
Yes. Now, have you voted Labour all your life? I mean,
Yes.
since you've been here?
Right from when I was young, I voted Labour because